million a year will be paid in purses to our horsemen in a new modernized racing structure. The folks hanging out on the track that help the horsemen will be able to work and advance their careers if that's the industry that they like. This is what happened before Irma and Maria. I'm going to get to Irma and Maria, but this is what happened before Irma and Maria. When Osbert Potter and I was running in 2014, we said to you we would hire 1,000 government workers. We were after 250 police officers. And in my January 2017 State of the Territory address, and I'm giving the dates because I want my challengers to go get the facts, because I tell you, bombs and missiles. So I don't want you to have to try to figure out what we're saying. My 2017, January 2017 State of the Territory message, we told you we had hired, since we've been in office, over 1,800 government workers. And then here came Irma and Maria, and turned our territory upside down. Hurt our people, broke over 18,000 homes in this territory. We lost members of our family, destroyed 12 of our schools, damaged our 3 main health facilities, tearing the roofs off of the Wang Louis Hospital, blowing the walls in the Schneider Regional Medical Center, taking the roof from the Cancer Care Center, and destroying the Myra Keaton facility. We destroyed police stations, fire stations. It made the Department of Planning and Natural Resources office in St. Thomas practically homeless. They had to move completely from where they were. Damaged the building where the Department of Labor is in St. Thomas. To date, a number of our government workers are still working in substandard conditions that we will work to make sure we put them in modern facilities and in new environments to help them do their jobs. And I want you to know, and I thank the government workers, we recognize the conditions under which you're working, all particularly a result of this disaster. But we worked with our partners. We worked with the delegate of Congress, Stacey Plaskett, and the delegate was successful in having over 110 members of Congress, both senators and members of the House of Representatives, come through the Virgin Islands and see firsthand what was happening in the territory. I was able to host and welcome the Vice President on the shores of St. Croix, and then go over to St. Thomas and St. John and see firsthand what was happening. I have hosted the Secretary of HUD, Education, Health and Human Services, Homeland Security, through the Virgin Islands to see what was going on in this territory as a result of the hurricanes, and to meet with the President on more than 2 or 3 occasions to discuss personally how American citizens are affected in this territory. The first thing that the Congress did was set aside $900 million to help us make sure we can keep government open, called the Community Disaster Loan. Right? That's the first thing they did. On February 9th, when the Congress voted and the President signed the bill at 10 a.m. in the morning, the Virgin Islands qualifies for over $8 billion in disaster recovery money. And if you recall, my formal submission to the U.S. government was a request of $7.5 billion. You will see the transformation of the Virgin Islands Water and Power Authority, where we are telling you without dispute that in another year to 18 months, your power bill will come down by half. Not because I'm saying so because it's political, but because $572 million have been set aside for the modernization of the Water and Power Authority, new generating systems, wind-produced power, more solar, lines underground. St. John has already been approved for 2 4-megawatt generators that are on their way to St. John. That means that they're going to soon not have to depend on the island of St. Thomas for power. My friends, the point that I'm making here, I want to make here, is that we are focusing on our recovery. We are focusing on the expansion of our economy. We are focusing on the creation of jobs. You may see that we are trying to recruit a number of government workers. We are actually in the market for over 650 to 750 new government employees that are necessary for us to access the $8 billion in support to do projects and to do programs in this territory. And we're advertising and promoting. We had job fairs with the UVI graduates, and I want to commend and congratulate all of the graduates from the University of the Virgin Islands. We went down to the university and let them see that we have jobs available for them. And we recognize that some of the salaries we're paying, folks ain't going to work for them. They're not going to work for them because on the U.S. mainland, people are giving out incentives and higher pay to get employees. But what we will be able to do is sit with our unions and work on increasing the base pay of our workers. We did that in the police department. We're working with the AFT and the EAA for the employees at the Department of Education. We're going to do that in health, in our Department of Human Services. We're going to do it at the Department of Justice. We're going to do it at the Department of Property and Procurement, because this is essential for us to access and to follow the law and do the programs to access these federal dollars. And this money is not just about building schools, building hospitals, and government offices. So far, we have approved for road repair and construction in the Virgin Islands $430 million. And what does that mean? If you remember, every year, our share of federal highway money for the entire territory every year is a mere $16 million. So if you do the math by dividing that 16 into 430, and I hope that I remember the number correct, it takes 29 years to get to $430 million. And that's now available for road construction and repair in the Virgin Islands. And I have a little secret to tell you. That's not going to be all the money available for roads. And the second thing we did on road repair was, we know the specifications we have to use for our federal highway roads, but we have no specification for our public roads. So when you drive through Sion Farm and you go through Sion Hill and Sion Valley, that's a non-federal road, and that we don't have any real specification for that. You're in Catherine Dress, Princess, and Wim, and Campo Rico, and Mumbiju. Those roads in the neighborhood, they're public roads, but we don't have a specification on how they are to be constructed. Well, we worked with FEMA, and we worked with the Army Corps of Engineers. And you know what they allowed us to do? They allowed us to set a specification. And in December, Commissioner Nelson Petty of the Department of Public Works set the specification for the construction of local public roads in the Virgin Islands shall be the same as those specifications on federal highway roads in the territory. And what that means is not just to say that he did that and that's a writing on paper. It means today, when the Army Corps of Engineers and FEMA are working with Public Works to do the assessment on the roads to quantify how much money is going to take to fix the road, they're doing it at the federal highway standard in terms of meeting that cost and that standard. So our roads will have proper foundations. They're going to have proper drainage. Where available, they're going to have sidewalks. They're going to have striping. They're going to have reflectors. And intersections, depending on the traffic going through them, will also have signals. We want you to join this campaign for re-election, for us to stay focused on our reconstruction and rebuilding our territory, and to strengthen our relationship with the national government. Asmat Para and I can boast that in the history, in modern times, let me just say in modern times, we are enjoying the closest and most positive relationship with the federal government that we have enjoyed in a very long time. And as the Lieutenant Governor said, you can't switch in midstream and tell somebody, okay, come, let's teach you how this governing thing is going to work and how these federal partners are going to work. All right, this is a little rhetorical. Don't get upset with me. But I could see in January somebody show up at the White House knocking on the door. And when the president opened the door, the person said, well, my name is so-and-so, I'm the new governor of the Virgin Islands. He said, where is Ken? And then you know we're going to get a tweet, right? We're going to get a tweet. What did the people of the Virgin Islands do? And you're entitled and free to support and select who you believe will best govern your territory. But the reality is, and as Osbert said, no one can make a common sense argument that it mattered not who was the governor of the Virgin Islands, that the U.S. government was simply going to come down and put $8 billion in the governor's lap. And you can't make that argument because after Hugo, how many billions we got? After Marilyn, how many billions we got? After Lenny, how many billions we got? And after Omar, how many billions we got? So when someone says, and can we give him their name? Come on, I don't mind. You come in the ball field to play ball, right? So when Ali Petrus says on the radio, and that's who said it, when Ali Petrus says on the radio, even John Doe idiot, even John Doe idiot would have get the $8 billion. It didn't matter who the governor was. I serve with Ali Petrus in the Senate, and I have respect for him, and I want to tell him, stop saying that because you sound like John Doe idiot. Okay? Because that don't make no sense. Right? That's like Ali Petrus saying he could have sit down on the property he owned. And the bank know he wanted to open a business. And they just come and give the money. He didn't have to apply for it. He didn't have to do a business plan. He didn't have to show them it was going to work. Right? And that he sit down in his business when it was open. And no employee didn't have to fill out no application. They just walked in and went behind the counter and went to work. They didn't have to talk to him or anybody running his business. Because John Doe idiot ain't got to do nothing. Right? And I know and I promote and I support him as being a Virgin Islander who is in the private sector employing our people. I want to commend him for that. I commend him for that. Right? But his business ain't worth no $1 billion. Right? So if he had to go through a process and fill out applications and get permits and interview employees to hire them and bring Coca-Cola in and bargain with Coca-Cola how much it's going to be, bargain with a company who's supplying him gas so he could have a profitable business, how could he realistically say that John Doe idiot could sit down on a table and President Trump will walk up and put $8 billion down in front of him? So what we want you to do in this campaign, before you move your tongue, engage your brain. Okay? Before you move your tongue, engage your brain. Now those of you who know to drive a manual stick know, if I'm on a hillside, I don't take off the handbrakes, I don't match the clutch and take a foot out of the brake, the car don't run down the hill. And that comment he made about John Doe, the idiot, that car just run right down the hill and butt up in a tree. So, like Mario said, Ali, we will let you wheel and come again. Okay, wheel and come again. Because we know that you know you don't believe that foolishness that come out your mouth. You know that. You know that. Because you couldn't get your business to work so easy. So that's where we're going to leave that. Right? That's where we're going to leave that. The guy another one said, change course now. He says, too much billions. You're going to run away from that. You have an adult saying, don't hire anybody now. Let's train them first. Well, in the last 2 days, Lieutenant Governor Potter and I was at the University of the Virgin Islands. And over 325 of our young Virgin Islanders received from associate degrees to master's degrees in psychology, in education, in biology, in criminal justice administration. The largest class of Bachelor of Science nurses graduated in the history of the UVI this year. We want to hire all of them. They just graduate with their degree. They will get their on-the-job training. How could you say, how you going to run a campaign and tell people, don't hire now, hire later? So the only point we're making is that these are folks with a good heart, in the right place, a good brain, struggling to function well, but they're not prepared for the task at hand. They're not prepared for the challenges at hand. And Osbert Potter and I have demonstrated leadership to this territory. The territory is often now commended on the national stage for its progress in the recovery, given all of the disaster jurisdictions. In point of fact, when we hosted the town meeting in St. John on Tuesday, out of FEMA's mouth, we were able to tell the people of St. John that St. John is the furthest ahead of recovery than California fires, Houston flooding and hurricane in Florida, Puerto Rico, St. Thomas, and St. Croix. St. John is ahead in terms of approval for mitigation, support systems. Their composite poles are in place, and the work continues. So we're about the future. We're about a better quality of life. This is an opportunity for many of our Virgin Islanders to come home with experience. Many of our young people who are graduating and looking for work to work here in this territory. And we are going to hopefully be announcing soon major investments in our private sector. And I want to best make this final point. When we came into office in 2015, St. Croix hosted one flight from Miami. Just have one American Airlines flight come in, and then as a part of the season, we would have the second one. And every time I come off of a flight, I would have to go and meet the taxi drivers and just try to reassure them that we're working for the betterment of them. You go down to the airport any weekend now, there are 5 jets on the ground. You go in the middle of the week, there are 5 jets on the ground. And guess what? June 24th, we'll be welcoming a new airline to St. Croix, flying between St. Croix and Fort Lauderdale. So we're going to continue to grow our economy. We're going to continue to support small businesses. And folks, all of the government workers, I want you to be assured and know that we know that the government employees retirement system is slated for insolvency in 2024. We're not going to let that happen. Concomitant with our discussions of our partners in the private sector, we're not only going to send a package to the legislature on the private investments, we're going to send a major package to the legislature in terms of how we will purchase additional years of solvency to ensure that our retirees continue to receive their pension and that we continue to support the government's responsibility as the sponsors of the government employees retirement system to do right by our employees or by our retirees. So I want to thank you all. I see the crowd is thickening up here, and I know I can't sing. So I don't know if when Crossfire come, I can't be on the stage because I have some Bajan blood. My father's parents, my grandparents on my father's side was Bernice and Garfield Mapp, so you know them as Bajan name. And of my grandmothers on my father's side, there were 11 children, my father being one of them, and 5 of them were born in Barbados. But on my mother's side, my mother's father, Sebert Hewitt, was also a Bajan. So if I stay up here Crossfire, they expect me to sing a verse with them, and I able with that. So I know there's a spectrum back here. I looking for the pretty one though. Where the pretty one? Where the pretty one? All I seen is these hard man up here. Where the pretty one? Hi baby, come give me a hug. And look, my belly smaller so you can hug me one time. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Please look over the pretty one.
Yeah.
I got to take this opportunity
Yes,
to
yes. So we want to thank you, Osbert and I. We want your support. Please sign up inside. Become a part of our campaign. Join our committees. And by the way, we are giving out stickers. We want you to put those stickers on your car. Wear them as a badge of honor. Wear them as a badge of honor. And let folks know, because this is the way the campaign is going. The folks that are challenging us, they pull in a wagon full of promises and lies. We pull in a wagon full of billions.
That's right, that's right. Yes, boys.
So we can build smarter and we can build stronger because we have the resources to do it and we have the relationships to do it, right? So put your stickers on, put them on proud when a new team that's running for governor and lieutenant governor knock on your door. You say, I done by already. Go up the road. I done by already. Go up the road. All right? I want to acknowledge my good friend that's in the audience here from St. Thomas, Celestino White. Tony, thank you so much for coming over. And I want to also acknowledge our good friend, Senator Holland Redfield, who is now Dr. Holland Redfield, came in tonight to say goodnight to us. Thank you, thank you. But we're off to victory.
Make some noise. Let me hear you, people, for the Governor Kenneth Mapp and Lieutenant Governor Potter. Make some noise. Make some noise. 4 more years. 4 more years. Let me hear you.
4 years.
Together.
It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer.
4 more years. Let me hear you. 4 more years. Let me hear you.
4 more years.
Let me hear you.
4 more years.
Let me hear you. Listen to this song. This is our new jingle. This is a new jingle. Spectrum Band. Yes. It's my Potter. It's my Potter. Let me hear you. It's my Potter.